welcome to the High School Preview Show presented by Gold Athletics. I'm your host, John Sarianides, and as always, I am joined by my partners, Tyler Amaral and Mukala Kabongo. Gentlemen, happy Wednesday night. How are you?
Good. How y'all doing?
Hanging in there, man. We are officially on the back end of the football season with Week 9 here, and of course, this is the final week of the regular season in Massachusetts. We still have another week of the regular season in Connecticut, but it feels like the end of the season outside, by the way. I was just at practice tonight, and it definitely feels like playoff weather out there.
Right. The rain was coming down?
It was drizzling, and I think it's a funny forecast for this week because some schools have already moved games, and of course, Friday night you also have Halloween, but it was drizzling. I think tomorrow, by all accounts, is going to be a washout. Friday night's games, though, looks like they're going to be okay. So there's your AccuWeather forecast from New England Football Journal. Before we do get started here, I do want to remind you that we are brought to you by Gold Athletics. Winter and spring coaches, your seasons are coming up, especially you winter coaches. Your season is around the corner. If you need money and you need a quick, effective fundraiser that can generate some much-needed funds, visit goldathletics.com. Matt and his team have an array of fundraisers that you can do to help bring in money, connect your players with your community, and be an enjoyable experience for your players, your program. Ready to fundraise and make that money? Visit goldathletics.com today for more information. All right, gentlemen, we have a great slate, and as always, we are going to start here in Massachusetts. We have a great slate of games this weekend. A lot on the line, obviously plenty on the line, both in terms of leagues and conferences, but also playoff seeding. That's also going to be affected this weekend by some of these results. And, of course, Friday morning, we'll get the latest updated power rankings. They came out yesterday, and not a ton of movement, but there'll be a lot of movement after this week. But plenty of things at stake this weekend. I'm going to start with the big one here in Massachusetts, Catholic Memorial at St. John's Prep on Saturday. Of course, CM has been the dominant program in the Catholic Conference the last few years. A couple of weeks ago, they lost at Zavarian, snapping their 8-game winning streak over the Hawks. Is this the year that St. John's Prep topples CM? They beat them a couple of years ago at St. John's Prep. Can they repeat that feat this year?
Yeah, they definitely can. I was at the game last year. I'll be there again this year. Looking forward to it. But I was at the game last year, and Christopher Vargas, I think it was really the only game last year that he looked like a freshman. Really no fault of his own, though. That CM team was the best team in the state last year, and they really just had his number. And they won that game in a shutout. I think it was 34-0 last year. Yep. I don't expect that to be the case at all this year. I think it's going to be much closer. Vargas is incredible, best quarterback in the state. He's going to put a lot of pressure on that CM defense. We've seen what Zavarian's been able to do against the CM defense over the last few years. I think we're going to see that with this St. John's Prep team. They're going to be able to throw the ball, but they also have that great running back duo with Toribio and Parent, so they'll be able to run the ball as well. I think they can get it done. A couple of years ago, this game was played, and it was a low-scoring game. St. John's Prep ended up winning by, I think, 9 points. I think it's going to be something similar this time, a little bit more points scored this time, 35-28, 35-30, something in that range. But I think the Prep gets it done and hands CM their second loss.
Yeah, this is a good matchup. Going to be like a chess game. And these are two coaches that's hard to bet against in big games. We've seen both of these coaches in big games just come up with, the game plan to pull out the victories. And for this one, I'm going to be looking at the CM run defense. They had a hard time stopping Rocco from Zavarian, especially up the middle. They had a lot of success running the ball up the middle, and I think Coach St. Pierre, he loves to run the ball. He has the quarterback, but he loves that physical running the ball. If he wants to throw it 10 times, he will. But if he wants to run the ball 40 times, he'll go for the 40 rushes. So they got the running backs that can put the pressure on the CM defense, and then they also like the matchups between the CM receivers and the CM defensive back and the St. John's Prep receivers. This is going to be some great matchups. We got some good one-on-one defenders and on that night's secondary, so that's going to be a matchup. And then limiting the big plays for St. John's Prep, that's what they got to limit. Ramar Thomas, Christian Simmons, Isaiah Simmons, those guys, once they hit those corners, they like to break those. They like to break, and that sets their offense up with those big plays. So if they could limit those big plays, come out to win. This is one of those hard to pick ones. Got to flip a coin, but when in doubt, go with the home team. I'm gonna go with the Prep in this one, but I think it's gonna be. It'll be a close game. It should be a better game than we had last year because there's so many matchups that both teams can find a ways to expose.
Unrelated to the other games, and to a degree unrelated to this game, although the outcome of this game will have an impact on playoff seeding and the power rankings next week.
Right.
But what are your thoughts on the state of affairs in Division II here? I mean, Catholic Memorial potentially, if they end up the 1 seed, it could be CM or Fian, but whoever ends up the 1 seed in D2 could legitimately have a first round bye. You don't have enough teams in the bottom of the division, the bottom third of the division, with enough wins to qualify for the playoffs under this system. Is that fair? I mean, for me, I think it speaks to how screwed up the system is. It's not CM's fault. It's not Fian's fault. It's the system. It's screwed up.
Right.
You only have 21 teams in Division II. It's not fair to blame it on CM or anybody else. But by the same token, I also don't think it's fair that they could potentially get a first round bye.
Right. There's a lot of flaws in this system that I've said throughout. But yeah, it's definitely, as you said, it's definitely not fair for them to get a first round bye and then bottom feeding teams don't get a post. I mean, what's the point then? Right? What is the point?
Yeah, I mean it's insane. Like I think there's 22 teams in D2, and then you have like D8 has 45 teams. So there's got to be a better balance. Should be an even amount of teams in each division. I mean 22 teams is ridiculous. We're going to talk about that D2 game a little bit later on. There's a team in D2 that needs a win here to qualify for the postseason. They're sitting at 2-5 right now. If they don't get that third win this weekend, then you'll see it. Most likely CM, who will be the 1 seed and get that first round bye, which is it's just crazy.
Right.
It is. Like you guys said, and I think you said it perfectly, Mukala. It's I've got issues with the system too. I have had issues with it for a long time, but I think a lot of coaches and a lot of power brokers in the state are content with the system. They've accepted it because 16 teams get in, and it gives their program a chance to get in the playoffs and compete. And it gives the coaches a chance to say, hey, I know we went 3-5, but I got my team to the playoffs. Right. I think it's ridiculous. And the idea that, to your point, Tyler, the idea that you have over 40 teams in D8 and only 22 teams in D2, that's the problem here. These divisions are unbalanced. And until you balance them up and you come up with a system that's fair, and by the way, you probably should have a system of elevation and relegation where you either elevate a team if they've been dominating a division or you relegate programs that have struggled in divisions. Right. Other states do that. Massachusetts can do it too. I'm not quite sure why they're not willing to do it. We shall see. But I think it highlights the flaws of this system and the imbalance in terms of the amount of teams in this division, or in these divisions, I should say. I think it's a much bigger problem than CM and Fian is right. Our overall point. Right. All right, next up, we're going to go up to the Merrimack Valley Conference where we have a great matchup. Undefeated Tewksbury traveling to Andover. Andover coming off a tough loss last week to Central Catholic. Jay Fielding's done a really good job, though, with this Golden Warriors team. They've been competitive. They've had a couple big wins, including big win over Pinkerton, New Hampshire, a couple of weeks ago. Mukala, I'm going to start with you. What's the vibe on this one? How do you see this game playing out?
This is going to be another good Merrimack Valley Conference game. I was at the Central Catholic Andover game, and that one, Andover, they got off to a rough start, and Central Catholic got off to a great start, jumped out on the 14-0 lead, and, never looked back. So Andover did have some good moments offensively. Kyle, quarterback Olsen, he had some big plays on the ground and in the air. So see if they can replicate that. But they're going up against a very physical Tewksbury team who's fast. They like to run the ball. They got some guys that could really make some big plays. And they've been the story of the year. We talked to two of their players over the weekend about their season. And yeah, this Tewksbury team, I just think they're a team on a mission. They're playing really well offensively and defensively. Ben Christopher, the quarterback Harrison, only a sophomore. He's leading the way for them. It's gonna be. This might be one of those. We might see a lot of points in this one, but I think Tewksbury is gonna go on the road and get the victory in this one.
Yeah, this should be a fun one. I think people kind of forget that this Tewksbury team is in D4. I think we've talked about this before. They should be a D5 team, and they've opted up to D4. So they're not. It's not a very big school, but Coach Aylward, once again, doing a great job with this team. In my opinion, as of right now, they're the clear favorite in Division 4. There's some other good teams there that we talk about every week, like Situate, but I think Tewksbury is a clear top team entering the Division 4 playoffs. They've had a great season. They've rolled teams all year, including a very good Methuen team. They beat by 21. That Methuen team beat Andover earlier in the season. Tewksbury's good. We have them inside the top 10 in our top 25 poll. I think they belong there, regardless of school size. Emeka Olu, Will Harrison, Johnny Sullivan. A lot of skill on this team, but they're also very physical. I think the Redmen win this one as well, make another statement against a D1 team.
All right, next up, we're going to go to the Bay State League for a big-time matchup that's going to have Major League power ranking implications as well as a league title implications. Natick hits the road. They go to Milton High School to take on the Wildcats. Both of these teams have had a great season so far. It comes down to this. These two teams have had some really good games in recent years. Tyler, I'm going to start with you. This should live up to the hype. It's going to be one of the better games of the weekend here in Massachusetts. It should live up to the hype. It's going to be a contrasted styles. You have a Natick team that can spread it out and throw it, but can also line up and pound you out of their pistol two-back stuff against a Milton team with Collins and Salmon that wants to spread it out and throw it all over the yard.
Well, I think Natick's at their best when they are in that two-back set and they're running a show set in Mortarelli. I think that's when they're at their best. And then, of course, you got Michael Whalen, one of the better two-way linemen in the state. Milton, over the years, they have struggled against physicality. I think they're a little bit more well-equipped to handle it this year than they have been in some other years. But I think that ground game of Natick's really going to grind and wear down this Milton team as the game goes on. I lean Natick, but I think this is going to be a fun game. Like you said, contrasting styles, those oftentimes make for some really intriguing matchups. Collins, Salmon, that offense is going to get theirs, but I just think Natick is going to wear this team down and be able to ice the game when needed.
And we got to look at the weather too. It's supposed to rain tomorrow night, so that's going to impact Milton a little bit more than Natick, because Milton does like to throw that ball around, and Natick is, as you said, they like that ground and pound game, so that might have impact the game plan for Milton, depending on how the rain affects the game tomorrow. So I think Natick, in games like this, we're going late in the season. It's October. The running game is usually the headlines of teams, especially teams that love to run the ball, and Natick's have been showing that. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is for the conference. Whoever wins this was the conference. Or?
I believe
this is a crossover. They're not in the same half of the
crossover. It is a crossover, but are they still doing champions on each side, or is it an overall champion? I thought they had changed it. I could be wrong.
Maybe. I don't know.
It is a crossover because Natick is on the Route 9 side of the league and Milton's on the 95 side of the league. So
I was.
Good guess. I guess we'll have to do some research next time before the show. I don't know.
But
these things are fluid. They change all the time.
Yeah. And Weymouth is the undefeated team on the Milton side.
Yeah,
so Weymouth and Natick are the
128 side, and then I think on Route 9, Route 2 side, or whatever we're going with these days. Natick is undefeated, so I don't know.
With all that said, I'm gonna go with Natick in this one. I think they're gonna grind out the victory in this one. I'll be at this game, so it should be a good one.
It should be a good one. And look, I think you bring up a great point, Mukala, about the running game. This time of year, if you can run the football and wear people down, it makes a big difference. And I think that's the key here. I think ultimately they're going to be able to run the football, and I think that's going to be the difference. And Tyler, I think you bring up a great point. Milton should be among the favorites in Division 3, But that physicality piece is going to be the deciding factor as to whether or not they can make a run back to Gillette and try to win it again like they did 2 years ago. Right. Yes, we know Dombrowski's one of the best coaches in the state, Hall of Fame coach. Yes, we know they could spread it and shred anybody throwing the ball. But the question is, can they physically match up with some of these teams in the playoffs? All right, next up, one of the teams that they could potentially see in the Division III playoffs are the North Attleboro Red Rocketeers. They host the Foxborough Warriors in a classic rivalry game in the Hockomock League. Big one here, Davenport implications in the Hawk, but you also have playoff seeding implications again. These two always play great games, and it seems like they alternate every other year. One beats the other. It's going to be a really good game. Should be a really close game. I've coached against both of these teams this year. Very similar in terms of style. You got Ryan Foley, Foxborough, Frankie Strachan, North Attleboro. They can run the football. They both are big physical teams. They gave us a hard time at KP. We played them both at their places. We were lucky to win both of those games, especially that Foxborough game. Our kids showed a lot of resiliency, but this should be, as advertised, one of the other best matchups of the weekend, if you will, in Massachusetts.
Yeah. Hockomock.
Yeah, I've seen Foxborough a lot this year. They're a really impressive team. Again, we just talked about Tewksbury, how they're a very good team, and they're in D4. Foxborough, same thing. Only lost to KP by 3 points. A game they led 12-0 at halftime. This team's in Division 5. I saw them beat Walpole by a score that was not indicative of just how dominant Foxborough was in that game.
21, I think it was.
Yeah, but that game was 27-7 with like 4 minutes left. So Foxborough is a very good team. I saw them beat Canton as well. It's a great defense once again. Last year I was at this game. It was exactly what you'd expect. Classic Hockomock rock fight, low-scoring game. Ben Angelini made some plays in the running game for Foxborough. I think it's going to be the same formula for Foxborough this time around, except Ryan Foley makes the plays. I would expect Foley to have 25 to 30 carries in this game. Foxborough is going to need to lean on him. And listen, like Foxborough lost the top seed in the latest power rankings. Hanover jumped both Foxborough and Shawsheen. So I think Foxborough and Shawsheen, in my opinion, they're the two best teams. So I don't think either team really wants to see each other in the semifinal rounds. Like you probably want it to be the finals matchup. So this is a very important game here for seeding, in addition to league title implications as well. But I think Foxborough gets it done.
Yeah, this might be one of those games that wraps up in like an hour or so like that. Just because of the way both of these teams play, we'll see a lot of heavy on the run game in this one. Foxborough, there's a lot at stake for them. As you said, they're trying to get back on that the top seed in their division, and they got a lot to play for. So I'm going to take them to squeak out the victory over North Attleboro.
It should be a great game. Like you guys have both said, there's a lot at stake here, both in terms of the league and playoff seeding and the power ranking. So we'll see. I mean, Division 5 is intriguing this year because the last couple of years, Foxborough was the favorite. They won it 2 years ago, beat Hanover, lost to Shawsheen last year. Shawsheen doesn't look like they've skipped a beat, but you mentioned Hanover right now is the number 1 seed. And I'm going to throw this team out there, and I think there's 2 teams I'm going to throw out there in D5 that I think some people are not necessarily neglecting, but kind of sort of forgetting about. Archbishop Williams is in Division 5. They've been a wagon so far, and Medfield is in Division 5. They've been a wagon as well. So this division, which was one of the weaker divisions the last couple of years, has emerged now as one of the tougher brackets to get through with realignment. So we'll see. All right, next up we have Bridgewater Raynham at Barnstable. Barnstable, of course, coming off their first loss of the season last week, losing in overtime to LaSalle Academy 42-36. They take on a BR team that is playing their best football of the season. Ian Bain, has done a great job there with that program. You got Jack Lambert at quarterback. Those guys are starting to get comfortable in Bain's system. BR could potentially be a threat in Division 2, a program to definitely keep an eye on. Tyler, I'm going to start with you. Really good matchup here. A lot at stake once again in both D2 and 3. What are your thoughts on this one?
I'll be there for this one tomorrow night as well. I'm really looking forward to it. Listen, BR's won 4 in a row. none of the games have been close, so they're playing well. And their 2 losses are to Marshfield and Mansfield by a combined 5 points. So this team could very easily be undefeated. I think people would be looking at them a little bit differently if they were entering this game at 7-0, as opposed to the 5-2 that they currently sit at. But the Trojans, listen, they're good. The offense is coming along. Jack Lambert, multi-year starter in Ian Bain's system. Braden Lewis has emerged as a nice piece in the backfield as well. This Barnstable team, though, they're physical. They're bigger and more physical than they have been in years past, and they still have that skill. Guys like Kyle Coffin, guys like Jason Dyer, just terrific players. You got the Armstrongs, Hassan and Rennell. Like this team has a lot of skill. I think Barnstable is one of the most talented teams in the state. It should be a fun game. I think I lean Barnstable here, something like 28-21. I think they rebound after last week's tough loss to LaSalle, but this should be a fun one.
I think, this Bridgewater and Raynham team, this was a team we talked about early in the season before when we did our early season preview. It's going to be a team to watch out for this season, and they've lived up to kind of the expectations that we set out for them. They played really well. Offensively, they could put up a lot of points. Defensively, they have their moments. But I think they're a team like going down the stretch of the season. They really have something to prove going into the postseason. I like them a lot. So I'm going to take them in this one.
Yeah, Barnstable is an interesting program because I think a lot of people consider them among the favorites in Division III. I think what it comes down to for me is this will be a good test for them. They need this heading into the playoffs because while they are considered among the favorites, I do think they're also one of the programs in Division III that has some question marks. I think people are looking at them and saying, okay, they're really good. They're really talented. You mentioned the Armstrongs. You mentioned Coffin. You mentioned Dyer. The talent is there. The coaching is there with Ross Jatkola. Can they put it all together and make a playoff run? And as we know, Division III arguably is the deepest division of the 8. You have the most contenders of any division, in my opinion. So we'll see. And as far as BR is concerned, look, like you said, Tyler, they're a couple plays away from potentially being undefeated. And one thing we know about that BR program, that school loves football. It's not going to take very long, even though stylistically Ian Bain is a lot different than Dan Buron used to be. This is a program that loves football. And if these kids are having success again, these kids are going to play football. So we'll see. It should be a good one nonetheless. All right, next up we have Canton at Mansfield coming right back to the Hockomock League. Another Davenport matchup here. Canton's 2 losses are to North Attleboro and Foxborough, a game that they lost a couple weeks ago to Foxborough, which was a battle, 14-7. Mansfield, of course, coming off a 24-14 win over North Attleboro. Mansfield's another team, Tyler, that I think a lot of people are looking at in Division III and saying, don't sleep on them. They've got the pedigree. They've got the trophies in the case. Mike Redding is a legendary Hall of Fame coach. He knows how to win. He has a team that fits the way he wants to play. The Hornets could potentially be a legit contender to win it all in D3. They got there last year and lost to North Attleboro. This should be a pretty good game. Canton's had a tough season with the coaching change there and everything else. You got to give their kids credit, though. They've been resilient. Can they go on the road and beat this Mansfield team?
Yeah, sure, they can. The Hockomock is just, it's such a grind, and there are so many good teams, right? Like I was talking to Mashpee coach Matt Treveri recently, and I was like, it's just another year in the South Shore League where they could have a representative or potentially a winner in divisions 6, 7, and 8. And I think for the mid divisions, like we could see something similar for the Hockomock League. Like you could have a representative, if not the state champion in divisions 3, 4, and 5 from the Hockomock League. It just speaks to the balance of the league, the competitiveness of the league. Really, no off weeks. So yeah, of course, Canton could pull this game off. They could win this. We saw them beat North Attleboro last year, so they're capable of pulling off these big road wins. I like the way Mansfield's playing right now, though. Mason Borderi, due to injuries, it doesn't look the way I think people thought it would look before the season. But the way Mason Borderi's emerged here at running back, he's playing some great football. The line's playing well. I think Mansfield's kind of hitting their stride right now, and they're going to win this one as well.
Yeah, I agree with you with that. Mansfield coming off that win last week. That was a big-time win last week for them. I think they're just going to keep rolling. You know, Canton's having a down year. Things aren't going well for them this year. I just think Mansfield is going to handle business as they get ready for the postseason.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. You know, Mansfield, the talent is there. If they can get Tommy Villette back and get him healthy, and by all accounts, it sounds like he's going to be back this week. If he's healthy, they're going to be dangerous in D3. They're going to be a team that could potentially get there and win it all. And one thing we know about Mansfield, the helmet and the jersey still matters there. There is a level of intimidation when you have to go to Alumni Field and play them, especially if you're a program that doesn't know them. But they won't intimidate KP. They won't intimidate North. They won't intimidate Milford either. Those are programs that know them. But if you're a non-Hawk program, they could potentially intimidate you. But they're a program that I think we need to start paying more attention to because they're getting healthy. As you said, Tyler, they're hitting their stride. The Hornets have that pedigree. Mike Redding has that pedigree. They'll be a factor in the playoffs. They can get back there. I think that this will be a good test for them, but I do think that they're the better team and they're on more solid footing right now. You are watching the High School Preview Show presented by Gold Athletics. I'm your host, John Sarianides. As always, I'm joined by my partners, Tyler Amaral and Mukala Kabongo. I do want to remind you that we are brought to you by Gold Athletics. Winter coaches, spring coaches, you're looking for a fundraiser to help your program raise money? Well, Gold Athletics will have that fundraiser for you. Matt Ross and his team offer a variety of fundraisers that are suited for different sports, different programs, different communities. Visit goldathletics.com today for more information. All right, next up, we're going to go down to the Patriot League. We've got a really, really enticing matchup here, a big-time matchup when it comes to the Patriot League itself and the power rankings and playoff seedings. Hanover at Scituate. Tyler, I think this is going to be a dandy of a game. And, you know, we talked about Division 5 earlier. Of course, Hanover is the number one seed in D5, a program that no one should be sleeping on. They've been one of the more consistent programs in the state the last 10 years. This should be a fantastic matchup between two programs that have been amongst the best 3 or 4 programs in the Patriot League the last few years.
Hanover's been consistent, and that passing attack, it's there every year. They've cycled through a few different quarterbacks now, and every year that passing attack is lethal. I think it wasn't quite where it had been in recent years to start the year, but they've really figured it out. Max Morin has really emerged as a nice signal caller for Hanover. And then you have multi-year starters, Sebastian Brown, Brandon Erico on the outside. These are guys that have been starting for 3 years. They were starting on that Hanover team that lost to Foxborough a couple of years ago at Gillette. So this team has a lot of firepower. But I think Scituate, I've brought this up multiple times now, I think that Scituate loss to Plymouth South, I think it was really a wake-up call for them. We mentioned it on the show from time to time. Sometimes losses can be good things for teams. I think that loss was a good thing for Scituate. I think it kind of made them focus a little bit harder here and really dial in on the game plan. It looks like the defense is playing a little bit better. They're able to run the ball with Foley, of course, and then Johnny Donovan to Miller Shea has been a nice connection in the passing game. I like the way Scituate is playing in all phases right now. I think they're a little bit more well-rounded. I like the Sailors here.
Yes, I agree with you on that, Tyler. That loss to Plymouth South really definitely woke them up. They've been playing exceptional, especially offensively. They kind of hit a different stride these last couple of weeks. Johnny Donovan, one of the best quarterbacks in the state. I think he's gonna have those guys ready. Grayson Foley. He's just too much firepower for Scituate. So I think it'll be a good game, but I think in the end, Scituate is going to pull one out and over Hanover.
All right, we go north of the city this time. We're going to go to the North Shore for Danvers at Marblehead. Of course, Marblehead coming off a tough shootout loss to Masco last week. Danvers has had a nice season thus far. Mukala, I'm going to start with you on this one. What are your thoughts on this one? Can Marblehead bounce back after a tough loss last week where Jack Fabiano had a big game for Masco?
Yeah. And in that game, they controlled the game throughout except the last 5 minutes where I think they gave up 20 on the inside points or something like that to lose that one. So it's one of those things, you look at the film, you kind of realize we had this game, but we didn't finish the game. It's going to cost them. But Marblehead is playing, besides that, they've been playing really well. They showed their offensive prowess against Masco. I mean, Finn Gallup, he's been one of the best players in the North Shore this season. He's really leading those guys. And then on the other end, Danvers, they got a lot of players. They got a lot of playmakers. But I just think Marblehead got a little It's gonna be one of those big Northeastern Conference matchups. It might be back and forth, but I think Marblehead in the end is just gonna come out with the win. They got to bounce back from last week. You don't want to end the season losing 2 in a row.
Marblehead's another one of these teams in Division 4 that I think is going to be able to make some noise. In this show, we mentioned Tewksbury, Canton, Scituate. I think Duxbury is still going to be in the mix, and Marblehead's another team to throw in there as well. Don't be surprised if this team makes some noise and it ends up at Gillette when all is said and done. Just a brutal loss last week. Of course, they're up by 17 with 5 minutes left, and they lost that game to Masco. A very good Masco team, though. By the way, that's a sleeper team in D3. And Masco, a lot of skill there. Marblehead, I think, is the better team, though, and I think they're going to be hungry to prove that last week was more of a fluke and that they're going to be able to get to the postseason on a high note.
All right, next up, we have a cross-league matchup here. Hockomock matchup. Of course, Bishop Feehan is on the independent side of things, but Taunton at Bishop Feehan. Tyler, your thoughts on this one? Bishop Feehan coming off a big win last week at Franklin, another Hawk opponent for them. Brian Pinnabell's squad's been pretty impressive.
Yeah, they have been impressive. I know, the line play with guys like Mankins, they have good skill as well. I think Andrew Ofranos has really kind of emerged as a nice piece here for the Shamrocks.
Nice Greek boy.
They're going to be. I missed that one, John.
I said a nice Greek boy. You got to watch out for those Greek skill guys. We don't have a lot of them, but when they come around, they're pretty good.
So I think Feehan, they're the second or third, in my eyes, they're the second or third best team in Division 2. I think they're like neck and neck with Winchester, and they have an impressive resume. They beefed up the schedule this year on purpose. Brian Pinnabell knew that this team had championship aspirations and could make it to Gillette Stadium. They certainly can do that. I think they're going to win this one. Taunton started off pretty nicely. They've sort of faded here. Again, the Hockomock League is brutal, so they're just sort of living with the life in the Hawk right now. Feehan wins this one. They've sort of been playing with fire a little bit recently, had some close games, survived some scares. I think this one will be close for probably 3/4. Feehan pulls away in the fourth.
Yeah, I think this one is another one of those cases. Feehan's going to go in and handle business and don't want to get guys hurt. Just wrap up the season well with the win. They've been playing really good football all year long. Their defense has been one of the best defenses around. That physical game. As we said, Taunton right now, just not the year for them, but they might put up a fight. But Bishop Feehan in the end is just going to walk away with this one.
Yeah, Taunton's a hard team to figure out. We played them a couple of weeks ago, beat them 35-7. Tough loss for them last week against Attleboro. They're a tough team to figure out because the skill is there, the quarterback play is there. Brad Sidwell's a good coach. Sid and I have been friends for a long time. I've coached under Sid. I know he's a grinder. He works hard. He's a very good coach. I think at the end of the day, it's just trying to figure it out there and be more consistent. And I think this is going to be another season for them where they're going to continue to be in that process until they figure things out. And you mentioned life being tough in the Hawk. Life is tough in D1 too. It's not easy to be a D1 program in Massachusetts. Excuse me. All right, next up we have Shepherd Hill at Marlboro, Central Mass matchup. Tyler, I'm going to start with you. Pretty good matchup here between two of the more underrated teams in the central part of the state.
That's exactly right. I think they're the two most underrated teams in Central Mass. Shepherd Hill, their offense has been explosive. Their only loss is to the aforementioned Marblehead. Shepherd, I think both of these teams are going to enter the postseason. They're both going to make the postseason, but they're going to be lower seeds, not going to have a home game. I think they're both in like the 10 to 12 seed range right now. But these are two teams that we could be looking at, a couple weeks from now saying, wow, this team was able to go on the road and pull off a pretty major upset. The Shepherd Hill offense, though, I think it's really explosive. They're going to they're going to make a couple more plays in the fourth quarter than Marlboro. I think the Rams win this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Shepherd Hill on this one. I think a little bit more offense, as you said. I think they'll put up the points. Marlboro might struggle a little bit getting points up, so I'll go Shepherd Hill.
All right, next up we go back to the Bay State League for another key matchup here. Wellesley at Weymouth. So these two always seem to play really good games against each other. Contrasted style, you got Wellesley going in there with their spread offense. that's relying on their athletes. And then you got Weymouth, who runs a single wing and can wear you down. Wildcats have had a nice season under head coach Mike Donovan. Jesse Davis, as always, does a great job with the Raiders. Tyler, I'm going to start with you. These two teams have had their moments this year, especially Weymouth, of course, big win over Milton a few weeks back. They look like a team that could potentially be a sleeper in Division I, along with Lowell and a couple of other teams, potentially Methuen, possibly Natick. How do you see this game playing out? I think it's an intriguing matchup, contrasted styles. If you're Wellesley, you're going to want to play an up-tempo game and make it a high-scoring game. You're probably going to have limited possessions with Weymouth running the single wing and controlling the clock. Conversely, if you're Weymouth, you're going to want to slow this thing down and grind it to a halt and win this thing close. How do you think that this matchup ultimately plays out?
Well, yeah, I think you're right. It's going to come down to who is able to dictate the pace, dictate the style of game. I think Wellesley needs this win a little bit more. They're both going to be playoff teams, Weymouth in Division I, Wellesley in Division II. It's been a pretty up and down year for Wellesley. They're 3-4, looking to get back to 500 here. They lost Lucas Prock, of course, but they still have a lot of skill. And quarterback Bobby Shanahan's a very good player. Tenny Charney at receiver, very good player. So I think Wellesley still has the skill. Weymouth has the backs too, though. Tyler Munchback and Amari Gomes, they're able to run the ball and kind of play keep away with some of these spread opponents. But I think Wellesley's a little bit more desperate here. I think they want to enter the pro season at 500. I think they're still in the mix for a home game in Division II as well due to their difficult schedule. I think the Raiders pull this one off, but it should be a pretty fun back and forth game.
Yeah, I think Weymouth's been on a tear since that win over Milton. They've kind of been ascending since that game, playing really well. Their offenses looked really good this season. Wellesley definitely a desperate team, but I think Weymouth is. I just think Weymouth might have a little bit more edge on them, just because they want to get that 7 win and possibly get another boost to their rankings or whatnot. So I'm gonna go with Weymouth in this one.
Yeah, it should be a really good matchup, and the contrast in styles, and the coach in me loves that. I love when you have two teams that are so different in terms of their style of play and the way they want to win. All right, next up, we're going to go north of the city again. I think Manchester Essex is one of the more underrated programs in the state. They've been putting up big numbers all year offensively. They've had a great year. They take on an Amesbury team that you could say is among the favorites in Division 7. These two teams, of course, could see each other potentially in the playoffs again in D7. This is going to be a fantastic matchup, and it could end up being a high-scoring affair. Mukala, I'm going to start with you. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, this is contrasting styles in this one. I mean, Manchester Essex, they like to run that wing tee. They like to run the ball a lot. And then Amesbury, they like to spread that ball around. I'm actually going to be at this game, so it's not too far from me. And I think Amesbury's going to squeeze. Is going to sneak up with the victory in this one on the road on a Thursday night. I think they're going to come out with the win. It's going to be a good game, but I think Amesbury is going to sneak out with the win in this one.
Amesbury is one of the most underrated programs in the state. They're consistently in the mix in D7, consistently winning playoff games. A couple of years ago, they lost to Uxbridge in the state championship game. I think they should be considered among the favorites to get back to Gillette this year, Division 7. A lot of deception involved with that wing tee offense. It can be difficult to figure out where the ball is exactly. And they've got a stable of guys that can run it at you. So I think Amesbury, they're bigger and more physical than a lot of teams at that level. I think that's, again, going to wear on most teams, and it's going to wear on Manchester Essex here as well. Amesbury wins, but Zach Hurd, quarterback, Manchester Essex, terrific player. He's a guy that could account for 300 yards on any given night.
All right, we're going to stay north of the city in another fantastic matchup. Two teams that are very familiar with each other. Stoneham at Melrose. Both teams are 5-2 and hoping to build some momentum going into the playoffs. Mukala, I'm going to come right back to you, my friend.
Yeah.
Thoughts on this one? How do you see this one playing out between two coaches who have been around a long time and know exactly what they're doing in Bob Almeida and Tim Morris?
Yeah, Melrose, they were actually, I don't think people expected for them to have the type of season they were having. People knew they were good, but they didn't think they would have this type of season that they were having. They definitely have had some impressive wins too. And then Stoneham, just a few years ago, they was in the state championship game. They make deep runs. We know about that offense, that heavy run offense, the wing T. They're gonna run the ball a lot. Games that I think Melrose is gonna come out with this one just because of the way they've been playing all season. I think like a lot of people haven't really believe in them, but I think they've opened some eyes these last couple of weeks.
Melrose, I think, is truly the most underrated team in Division Three. Like we talk a lot about these teams in Division Three and how it's 8, 9 deep, but I don't think anybody's really talked about Melrose, a team that could be like a 12, 13 seed, and that's whoever it is that's top 4, like North Attleboro, for example. They're not going to want to see Melrose as their draw in the first round. That's not going to be an easy one. This Melrose team is good. They're coming off a very nice win over upstart Wilmington team. Jack Feeney is a nice player. I think they go into the playoffs on a high note here, beat Stoneham.
All right, again, we're going to stay in that part of the state for another key matchup, although this time the team that's in that part of the state is going to hit the road to come further south than here, where we are here, or at least where I am in Foxborough. This is actually more Amaral country than anything else. St. Mary's and Old Rochester. And Tyler, I'm going to start with you. Really intriguing matchup between, again, another contrasted styles game between two teams that I think are poised to make some noise in the playoffs. I think St. Mary's is a sleeper in Division 5. As I said earlier, I think D5 is a lot deeper than it has been the last couple of years. Right. And Old Rochester, who got off to a rough start, they've won 3 in a row, and they're starting to play well, and they're playing well at the right time of the year.
They are. This is a game I circled earlier in the year when the schedules were released. I thought this was an intriguing cross-sectional matchup. St. Mary's, I think they're a good team. They've had some close losses this year. They lost to Fian and Gloucester, but they just went down to Philly and picked up a win. So that was a nice win for them. I think they're a kind of a forgotten team in Division 5 as well. They're up. They've won the state title in D6 a few years ago. They've been in D6 for a while now. Now they're up in 5. St. Mary's is another team in Division 5 that's going to make some noise. It looks like they're probably going to be like a 7 or 8 seed. And those top seeds aren't going to want to have to play St. Mary's. Very good team, good stable of backs. Mukala, I believe Belliard's back at quarterback now. He's healthy.
Yeah, he's been back. Yeah, he's been back for a while.
Yeah, I thought so. So he's a difference maker at quarterback. He's a good player. Old Rochester, I think they're more of a team to watch in 26 and 27. They start a lot of guys. They have 4 offensive linemen returning next year, a sophomore quarterback, sophomore running back. So they're a team to watch in 26 and 27 in Division 6. They're playing well right now. They're going to get into the Division 6 playoffs, but I think St. Mary's wins this one.
Yeah, with St. Mary's, I think with St. Mary's, it's those backs. They have 3 backs that are game changers. With Rowan Merriman, who's their bruiser, Tyron Hunn, who can explode for big play, and then Jimmy Jennings, who's their speedster. And Coach Driscoll loves to run the ball. They like to be physical. I think they're gonna go down there and handle business. All Rochester right now, young team, on the come up. They'll give them a game for a little bit, but I think and it's gonna be that rushing attack for St. Mary's that's gonna be the difference in this one. I think those backs are gonna have a big game to close out their regular season.
All right, next up we have a dual county matchup between Concord Carlisle and Westford Academy. Both of these teams are in Division 2, and they need a win to get into the playoffs in Division 2. We'll see if they get it. But, Tyler, your thoughts on how this one shakes out?
Yeah, this is the first of a few games that we're going to talk about here where featuring a team that's 2 and 5 that's currently in the MIA's top 16 for their respective division, but they need that 3rd win to be eligible for the postseason. I think something could be said of these teams are going to be playing with desperation. It's their last chance to get into the playoffs. I think the Grey Ghosts get it done here. I think they're gonna beat Concord Carlisle. Again, just play with that desperation. On paper, they're pretty even, and these are 2 teams that are going to be in the Division 2 playoffs. If Westford wins this, I think they do.
Yeah, Westford Academy, I think 2 and 5 right now, but they've played some close games. They've had a few close games this season for them. Concord Carlisle. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Westford in this one. Go with the home team.
Yeah, that's Really, at the end of the day, that's Mukala's formula. He
pretty much.
He leans home team. I get it. I got it. And it matters in high school football. All right, next up we have Carver at West Bridgewater. Mr. Amaral, thoughts on this one? Carver needs a win. They're another one of those 2-win teams, as you mentioned. They need a win to become playoff eligible. Can we start talking more about this West Bridgewater team? I kind of feel like you talk about forgotten teams. They're a forgotten team in Division 7.
They are. I mean, Justin Kogler is one of the best coaches in the state. Like he led Old Rochester to a state championship game in 2018, and then in the following year led West Bridgewater to a state championship game. He's a terrific coach. They have a lot of skill this year. Ryan Nunes, Tyler Holmes. I think they're currently second in the Division 7 power rankings. They definitely haven't been talked about nearly as much as some of these other teams, some of these other contenders. They had a massive win, a thrilling shootout win over Fairhaven earlier this year, where I think that was really a statement game. West Bridgewater, they've just got too much skill here. Carver has, credit to them. They've played a very difficult schedule for a Division 7 team, but I think that difficult schedule is going to kind of bite them here, and they're only going to be able to get the 2 wins on the season. West Bridgewater wins this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with West Bridgewater as well. I think their offense is gonna be, it's gonna tire the Carver out, and they're gonna win this one in convincing fashion.
All right, Mukala, heads up. I'm coming right back to you here. We have Gloucester at Winthrop. Are the Fishermen officially back here? Can we start talking about them as a legitimate contender in Division 5?
Yeah, we should be. Yeah, they are a legitimate contender in Division 5. They got the running game. They got a solid defense. They had the game, the slip up against Swampscott, which was a really good game. Swampscott was on a roll going into that game, and they were able to pull out the victory. But Gloucester, they got 3 running backs that could really break big plays, led by Joseph Allen, who's having himself quite the season. Winthrop, they got Seth Sackle. I think he was Player of the Week this last week, and he's also a big play guy. He could break free for a big run anytime. So it should be a good one. And this game is really important for Winthrop. Winthrop is trying to find a way to get in there, but Gloucester's gonna come out with the win in this one. It'll be a good game, but Gloucester in the end is gonna come out with the victory.
Yeah, Winthrop's playing a lot better than they were in the beginning of the season. They're starting to figure things out. I think it's just going to be a little too late for them this year. Gloucester's going to win this one and keep Winthrop out of the postseason.
All right, our final public school matchup here in Massachusetts for the week. Tyler, I'm going to start with you. Mashpee at Cohasset. Cohasset, I believe, is currently the 1 seed in Division 7. Talk about Michael Wildfire at quarterback. Of course, Peter Fonis, who does a fantastic job there with that program. You mentioned Coach Treveri earlier. This should be a fantastic matchup between 2 very well-coached programs.
Yeah, I mean, these are some of the standard bearers and lower division schools, Cohasset, Mashpee. I think you kind of expect one of those 2 or both of those teams to be in the state semifinals every year. Terrific programs. Mashpee's not quite as good as they were last year. They're still good. They're still going to be a playoff team. Daniel Alade is a terrific player for them. Cohasset, though, they have more size than they've had in the past, and they still have a lot of athletes. You mentioned Wildfire, guys like Gus Green. Skippers have a lot of firepower. They're one of the favorites in Division 7. Cohasset wins.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cohasset in this one. Mashpee, they're having a down year this year, but they're going to regroup for next year. So Cohasset going to take this one.
All right, next up, we are going to take a look at one of the top NEPSAC matchups of the weekend, and that is Dexter Southfield hitting the road to go down to Connecticut to take on Choate. Choate's coming into this one 5-2. Dexter's coming off a heartbreaking 29-28 loss to Avon Old Farms last year, and what I think is the game of the year in high school football. It's in New England. It's going to be tough to beat that game. Mukala, of course, you were there for that great matchup, and it's nice to see you get introduced to Matthew Baer, who I think, the kid's a dude, and he's only a junior, and we need to really have the conversation. Peter Bork's going to Michigan. We've got plenty of really good signal callers in the region, but this kid needs to be in that conversation. He is a special dude. You saw him. I saw him against BB&N. He had 5 total touchdowns in that game, 4 passing, 1 rushing. He's special. Does Dexter Southfield bounce back against a Choate team that's young? Coach Bonato's got a young team there, but this is a program. They know how to win, and despite being on the younger side, they've had a really good year. Can they win this game and really solidify their resume?
Well, what benefits them is they're playing at home, so they're gonna have an extra juice at it. But we talk about Matthew Baer, also Rory Funk. That's another young quarterback. That's another
tremendous.
quarterback. Yeah,
Yeah.
he is a really
he's in that conversation as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I believe Dexter Southfield will bounce back because they were down 14-0 against Avon Old Farms. Then they tightened some things up. Their defense started making stops. Then Funk got it going, got the offense rolling. So
he's got the funk, no doubt.
Yeah, he's got the funk, and I think they're gonna go and choke, and they're gonna pull the victory out.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a fun one. I think I lean Dexter. I don't feel super confident about that one. Every week there's one game that kind of I think is a pick 'em. I think this one's more of a pick 'em than some people realize. This choke team's really good despite that youth, but I think Dexter does go on the road and gets a win here.
All right, next up, we're going to go down to Connecticut. A couple of good matchups down in the Nutmeg State or the Constitution State or whatever we're calling it these days. You print at Maloney. Should be a really good matchup between two teams that only have one loss. Maloney's been kind of a surprise, a program that's kind of sort of flying under the radar, really good a couple of years ago when they had Dante Kelly and company. But this should be a really good matchup against a very good New Britain team that has had a good season so far. This will be one of their tougher tests here down the stretch. We'll find out a lot about this New Britain team. Tyler, how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I mean, these are two playoff hopefuls here, two teams that will be in the playoffs in Connecticut and hope to win a couple games when they get there. I think New Britain is the slightly better team here, so I'm going to lean New Britain.
Well, they have Jaden Allen, who's been one of the best players in Connecticut all season, and he's tough to stop, man. So he could be the difference in this game. Mukala, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna lean New Britain in this one. This is last week of the regular season down there in Connecticut.
Nope, they've got 2 more weeks. They've got this and another one. Yep.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go with New Britain in this one. It's gonna be a tough road test for them. But
3 more weeks.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, New Britain in this one.
They do it right down there. Their regular season wraps up on Thanksgiving.
Okay. All right, makes sense.
Yeah. So, and another key matchup this weekend down in Connecticut is on Saturday. St. Joe's visiting Staples. Our Rob Gould will be there for that one. Should be a fantastic matchup. Staples coming in at 5-1. St. Joe's picking up a big win last week over Darien. Of course, St. Joe's, a program with a long history and tradition in Connecticut, and Staples, they don't want to get caught looking ahead. They have New Canaan next week. Thoughts on this one, gentlemen?
I'll go with Staples. I get that this one could be a trap game. St. Joe's is a good team, but I like Staples.
Yeah, as you said, they don't want to overlook this one because they got a big one next week. So I think Staples will be focused to lock in and get the win in this one.
Yeah, Staples, again, when you talk about Class LL, they'll be amongst the favorites. Obviously, you got Greenwich as well. But I think this is a statement game for Staples. Nick Wheel and company need this one. If they can get this win, I think it would go a long way in giving them some much-needed momentum going into next week's big-time matchup against the number 1 team in Connecticut and New Canaan. All right, next up we go up to Maine. We got Noble at Thornton Academy. Geez, Thornton Academy looks like they're going to be okay, right? They've hit their stride. This has been the script for the Trojans now the last few years. They lose to Bedford. Everybody's like, oh, maybe Thornton's a little down. And then they remind you that they're still the class of Class A.
They are the class of Class A, and no team, no disrespect, but no team in Maine has the level of defense that Bedford has. Nobody in Maine's been able to contain this Trojan offense. I don't see that changing here. Noble, again, they're a worthy opponent here, one of the better teams in Maine. It's just really tough to slow down this Thornton Academy team.
Yeah, Thornton's been, they've been the staple up there. They've consistently been playing well. They've consistently winning big games, and it's going to be no different this time around. They're going to come out with the win in this one.
All right, best matchup of the weekend in New Hampshire features Bishop Girton. Anthony Nalen's done a great job there with the Cardinals. They hit the road to take on Winnicott in a battle of 2 lost teams. But this is the final weekend of the regular season in New Hampshire. A lot on the line here in Division I.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. It's kind of a different matchup. We talk a lot about Bedford, Pinkerton, and Londonderry when we're talking about New Hampshire football. So it's good to see some other teams get some recognition here. They both of these teams are playing well. Two playoff teams here. Garton's only losses are to Nashville South and Bedford, both by one score. I think Garton's the better team here. They get this one done.
I'm gonna lean towards Girton in this one. Yeah, I'm gonna lean towards Girton.
All right, next up we go down to the Ocean State big-time matchup. Bishop Hendricken coming off a bye week. They hit the road to take on undefeated Portsmouth. The Patriots, of course, stunned Hendricken last year. Should be a really good matchup. Hendricken's had 2 weeks to prepare for this one. Don't sleep on them. I'm warning people now. I think a lot of people, especially after that LaSalle loss, wrote this program off. Don't write them off. Don't do it. I'm telling you now, don't do it. They are going to be a player come playoff time here in a couple weeks. Don't sleep on the Hawks. They're going to be fine. Can they go on the road here and beat a Portsmouth team that's been really good this year?
Yeah, of course they can do it. They've got a lot of talent. They're on the short list of most difficult schedules in New England this year. So they're 500, but it's been against top tier competition.
Yeah.
This Portsmouth team, though, I think this is a special group. They're the best, in my opinion, best public team in Rhode Island, best public school team. And I think if they win this one, it's a chance to really open some eyes and have them be considered the favorite in Division I in Rhode Island before the tournament starts. I think Portsmouth gets it done again. I do. I think they win this one. These teams could meet each other again. But I think I really like the way Portsmouth and that offensive player right now. Give me the Patriots.
I have LaSalle on line 1. They want to speak with you, Amaral, when you have a chance.
Well,
how do you see this one? Go ahead. Go ahead, Tyler.
Hendricken they've played in some close games this season. You know, they've got a couple games that's came down to the wire. They could have gone.
You got to see them against Central Catholic, and that's a game they very easily could have won. They got off to a great start in that game.
Yeah, and they were in control for most of that game. It just things fell apart late in that game. So this is a Hendrickson team. I think is their back fully healthy now? Is their running back fully healthy now? Because I know
I'm not sure. I know that he was nicked up a few weeks ago. I don't have an answer. I could get one. I have some friends on the staff, so I could get one for you.
Yeah, if he's fully healthy, it's gonna set them up real good down the stretch. Because when I seen him at the Central Catholic game, he was just coming back from injury, so he didn't look 100% in that game. But you could just tell he was still a little bit hobbled. But I think Hendricken is going to come out and pull the upset in this one on the road. Tough road game, but they'll win this one.
And now, Amaral, I have Dan Copen online, too. I have a Dan Copen looking to speak with you online, too.
No, I think, but LaSalle beat Hendricken by 1. Like, I think if Portsmouth beats Hendricken again, like LaSalle, Portsmouth, Hendricken, like any of those
North
three.
Kingstown, they've got to be in that.
North Kingstown, too.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, finally, the playoffs begin this weekend in Vermont. Hard to believe we're talking playoff high school football already. But best matchup of the weekend up there is going to be Burton at Essex. That's a Division I playoff matchup. We're going to have our Vermont playoff preview up for you tomorrow night. But should be a really good matchup. Bulldogs bouncing back this year after a tough 2024. Question is, do they have enough? Are they back, all the way back enough to go on the road and beat Essex in round 1 of the playoffs?
I think they're all the way back in the sense of them being able to go on the road and win, beat Essex, a team they have already beaten in the regular season. So I think they're able to win that game for sure. I don't know if they're quite back to being one of the top 1 or 2 teams in Vermont, but I think they're good enough to go on the road and win a first round game.
I think they can, but will they? I don't think they're gonna do it though. But I think I think Essex is gonna come out with this one.
Division I is interesting to me in Vermont because, I mean, you've got Middlebury, you've got St. John's Bury, you've got Rutland, who got off to a really good start at the beginning of the year and kind of tailed off down the stretch. And then you got Essex and Burton, who I think would probably be the next 2 teams to look at if you were stacking them in Division I. St. Johnsbury is the team to keep an eye on. Middlebury will probably be the favorite, but I'd say St. Johnsbury and Rutland are two teams that could potentially beat them or beat them in a state title game. But I'm with you, Tyler. Burton's a program that's been there before. Like I said, tough year last year, bounce back this year. Keep an eye on them in Division I. Division I in Vermont's wide open. I think any one of these teams can win it. It's not like D2 where Hartford is the standard and it's everybody else and they're the prohibitive favorites. I think in D1, it's going to be wide open. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun here the next 3 weeks to watch the playoffs in Vermont play out. Some good football up there, especially in D1. That'll do it for this week's episode of the High School Preview Show. Before we do go, I want to give you guys a chance to give us one final thought, though. I got a little ahead of myself. One final thought before we do go. I have to go on and do the college preview show, so that's why I'm in a hurry here. But final thought here, gentlemen, before we wrap it up.
That's it. Final week before the playoffs start. So we have got 3 games, a pretty good slate on Thursday. So if you're
great slate, the pre-Halloween slate,
pre-Halloween slate, and then I think Friday just go out for an hour, load up on the candy, and then drag your kids to a game.
Yeah, they might be giving candies out at some of these games too. So, I want to give a shout out to Lynn English quarterback Shane Knowlton for the performance he had over the weekend at Everett. 6 touchdowns, over 300 yards. It was a really, really good football game. That they also give a shout out to Everett for honoring Coach DiBiase with the naming ceremony. They had a lot of his former players were in attendance for that. It was a great time over there in Everett. But great pregame ceremony to honor Coach Dibbs and the field dedication, and then fans were treated to a really good game.
And honestly, I got a little ahead of myself in prematurely trying to end the show, and like I said, I have to go on and do another show here, but I actually do have a final thought, and I've been sitting on this for a while, and my final thought is, look, for about a year there, I was railing against the Thursday night games. I'm not a fan of the Thursday night games. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not a fan. Now, look, I know why they're doing them ultimately, though. You don't have enough officials. And so in order to have enough officials to cover all of the games, you got to play Thursday night games throughout the region. It's not just a Massachusetts problem. It's a regional problem. There aren't enough officials. So you can sell me on the Thursday night game. My issue is these stupid-ass 6 o'clock kickoffs. I'm over the 6 o'clock kickoff. And please don't piss in my ear and tell me it's raining by telling me that you're doing it for safety reasons or you're doing it to deter kids from participating in illegal activities like drinking before games. Can we just stop? Do you really expect people to buy that baloney? Do you really think that kids aren't going to drink after a game? What do you think they're going to do on a Friday night at 8 o'clock when that game ends and they're walking with their friends and they're going home? You think they're going home? Some of them, a lot of them probably are. Some of them are not, though. And so my point is, I think that we are entering a time in athletics that's critical here. Participation is down across the board. Kids aren't playing sports. We need more kids playing sports. I want to see athletic directors become ambassadors of their athletic departments and promote their athletic departments and get the kids to play sports. When I hear that some ADs are pushing the idea of playing 3:45 varsity football games on a Thursday or Friday afternoon, miss me with that bullshit. Miss me with it. It's nonsense. What that tells me is you don't actually care about the kids. You just want to go home. And at the end of the day, that's what I think is behind a lot of that talk. That's what I think is behind a lot of this 6 o'clock start time stuff. Okay? Yeah. Just come out and say it, that you want to go home. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't deter kids from making bad decisions. It's bad because parents have to work and then try to fight traffic to get to their kids' game. It's not fair. Let's go back to the 7 p.m. kickoffs. It's idiotic that we're playing at 6. It's idiotic that we're playing at 5:30 in some instances. And if this becomes a universal thing where we're playing games at 3:45, miss me with that. That will kill football. And at that point, you might as well just kill the entire athletic department. It's not about you. It's about the kids. We say it all the time. It's about the kids. It's about time we made it about the kids. So there you go.
Yeah.
There's my
we had an AD here who said he changed they were having this was in basketball, a rivalry team. They changed, it's usually every Fridays at 7 p.m. And there was a time where they changed it to the game at 12 p.m. on a Saturday. And his reasoning was like he didn't like the crowd that came in at 7 p.m. It was like,
it's too much. Listen, and again, I could do an entire show on this, okay? And I'm probably not doing myself any favors with some of these ADs. But at the end of the day, man, it's not about you. It's about the kids. And there's a lot of great ADs out there. And there are some of them out there, with all due respect, that care more about making it easier on themselves. The smaller the crowd, the better. The less kids that they have to manage, the better. The more weekends that they can sit at home or spend time with their families or do whatever. When you make the decision to become an athletic director, one of the things you know going into that thought process is that this is a demanding job that takes me away from home multiple nights a week. If you don't want to do that, I get it. I'm not an athletic director. I have no interest in being one. I don't blame you for wanting to be home, but just understand that part of being an AD is you're at the school a lot, especially evenings. So I just think when I hear some of the excuses that are being made as to why these 6 o'clock games are being played, it really aggravates me. And I think it's self-serving in some instances, and I don't like it. That'll do it for this week's episode of the High School Preview Show. For Tyler Amaral, Mukala Kabongo, I'm John Sarianides. You can catch me ranting and raving next with Ryan Barry on the College Preview Show. Until next week, get out there and enjoy the games. Lots of great matchups here as we're winding down the regular season. So get out and enjoy. Don't let the rain deter you. Don't let Halloween deter you either. Go get some candy. Get on a sugar high. Go watch a football game. Until next week, be happy, be safe, and get out there and enjoy the games. Peace.